What's up, you guys? You are listening to Your Message to Millions podcast. I'm Anna, I'm the host, and this is for the ambitious entrepreneur. This is for the entrepreneur that wants to make an impact, someone who wants to have influence. It's also for someone who wants to get stuff done and make some money while doing it. We know as a publishing company, as a personal development company, as business women who inspire and help to inspire others, that most people we encounter have something to say, they have something to share, and they have something to teach in a super powerful way. So we're going to bring guests on this show and we're going to talk about things like branding. We're going to talk about developing, packaging, and launching your message to the masses. Sometimes we may go off on a little bit of a rant, or we may reflect on some information or tools in which we have learned or observed. And so tonight, I'm super excited to talk about something that it has been a struggle for me probably my entire life. And it's only now that I feel like I've gotten more of a grip on it. And this is something that I find a lot within entrepreneurs, and it's this concept of the crippling of perfection. And I don't know if you guys can relate to this or not, but I have struggled with this my entire life. And what I mean by this is, to me, the crippling of perfection is there's this quote, actually, I want to read to you. And this used to drive me nuts hearing this quote, but now I understand it a little bit more. And the quote is, "It's not perfection, it's progress." And how do you get past wanting to be perfect before you post or before you create or start or achieve? Well, guys, it's action. It's action that gets you past this point. But when you're stuck in that point of you want everything to be perfect, you want everything to be aligned, you never start. And I spent a good majority of my life not starting things because I wanted to be perfect at it before I started. And so you don't always, it's a struggle. Like, it's a struggle to get started. But here's what I've learned throughout this process is you're not going to get anywhere near perfection unless you totally suck first. And I know that's kind of funny to say, and you guys probably think I'm joking, but I'm not right now. And the one I keep getting asked, like, "Oh my gosh, your publishing company, it's really taken off. Wow, so quick." And it makes me laugh and it makes me smile because this has totally not been quick. This has been a process for the past decade, actually 2 decades of being in business, different types of businesses. This has been a process of totally sucking and then finally getting to the point where you're like, "Oh my gosh, okay, I can post a podcast now. It's not perfect, but at least I'm starting." Or, "Oh my gosh, I can start a YouTube channel." No, my video is not going to be like a Gary Vaynerchuk or a Tony Robbins or an Andy Versellis. It's not going to be at that level right out of the gate, but like you have to start somewhere and you have to consistently be disciplined to continue every single week, 3 times a week, 2 times a week, whatever it is, however much growth that you want to see, because eventually you're going to get to the point, just like we're getting to the point now, where we're not sucking as much, which is kind of fun. I want to give you guys kind of the lowdown, the honest lowdown on what this looks like to actually start. And there's 3 things that come to mind when it comes to starting something. The one thing that's got me through a lot and got me through past this perfection thing is that I have this feeling, and maybe some of you guys can relate, some of you dreamers out there, some of you creators, as long as you hold on to this feeling deep in your heart, deep in your soul, deep in your body, as long as you hold on to this feeling of the possibility of creating, the possibility of having this thing created, and you're not even sure really what it is. As long as you hold on and you focus on that feeling, you don't need to know the entire plan, which for me, for years, this has been a huge struggle also because I'm a planner. I can plan stuff out to like the minute, the second, but not knowing is like the hardest thing. And you know what? What has gotten me there is prayer, meditation, and I just focus on that feeling of what it feels like at the end or what it feels like during the journey of this. So number one is feeling. The other thing that comes up for me is clarity comes with action. So if you want clarity on like, let's just say you're trying to plan a business right now, or like, let's just say you're trying to plan your brand. If you want clarity, you have to jump into some type of action, because the more action that you take, the more clear your message becomes and the more clear you become on yourself and on what you're trying to accomplish. And then the third thing is what I just kind of started talking about was just know that totally sucking at something is part of the action. So right out of the gate, you're not going to be like completely stellar at the skill or the technique or the creation or the post or the video. You're not, or the Facebook Live. That cripples tons of people. You're not going to be the best at it, but you know what, dude? You're showing up. And that's the most important thing. When you show up consistently and you discipline yourself to show up, progress happens and you start to get better and better. So I don't know if you guys can relate to this. I know I can, and I know there's others out there, but we all have times in our lives where we've had that moment. And you guys know that moment I'm talking about. It's that defining moment. It's that thought of like almost like a turning point. And what I want to share with you guys about this moment is I learned this new technique through a faith-based group that I'm in, but you know what? This technique actually applies to all people. And if you've had one of these moments of like a defining moment, if you've had like a turning point or something where you're like, aha, that's what I want to do, or yes, that's my dream, or I want to work towards that, or I want to create this or design, that's what I want. There's this moment and they call it, it's a biblical term and it's called the Kairos moment. And the thing with the Kairos moment is, and what it's defined as is it's this thing where, you know, when you're in a conversation and the conversation is like kind of starts off small talk and then all of a sudden someone shares something super vulnerable or honest, that's a Kairos moment. And it's a moment where it's a defining moment. It's a moment where you say, yep, that's what I want to do. Yep, this happened to me. And we have tons of these moments throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the month, throughout the year. And there are these moments or these thoughts that we have that have been put into us that make us think. They kind of throw us back for a moment. And so with this moment, there's kind of this cycle that we go through. It's a learning. Some people call it a Kairos circle. Other people call it a learning circle. But it's basically taking this moment of a thought that you had of let's just say something you wanted to create or something you wanted to do. And it's working it through like an entire circle. So if you can picture in your head right now, like draw a circle out in the air, draw a circle out. We're starting at the top of the circle and then we're going to move clockwise all the way around the circle. There's 6 defining points or defining spots of this circle that you take this thought through. And the first one is when you get that wild and crazy thought or that idea or creation, you kind of like start with like the observation. So you observe like, like I really would like to start a YouTube channel or a podcast, or I'd really like to start a Facebook page or Instagram page. I'm just using social media kind of as an example here, but you kind of observe it first, that moment, that thought, that action. And then you move into reflection. Like, what would it look like if I created this? Or what would it look like if I started this business? And then the third thing is you discuss it. So all of you guys probably will have an idea and you're like, okay, I need to discuss it with someone. And we all know that when you discuss something with a friend or family or someone who's cheering you on, a mentor, that the idea kind of magnifies and it grows. And then you kind of are able to sort out, like a plan. And so the plan is the next one. So number 4 is plan. So when you get to that point of where you've observed, you've reflected, you've discussed it either in your mind, in a journal, or with a friend or a mentor, then you get to the point where you're like, okay, now I can actually plan for this thing. So then you go into the process of, preparation and planning. And then when you have your plan together, then, a plan is not really useful unless you have some type of accountability or account to it. So then at that point, the plan is in action, and that's where the fifth step of the cycle comes in, and that's accountability or account. And then we all know when we have a plan and we have an accountability to it, then the last step is to actually act on the plan and take action and take massive action. When it comes to this cycle, it kind of depends on what the thought, the idea, the creation, the plan, whatever it is that you want, it kind of depends on what it is. So if you guys think about it, this is something that was explained to me last week, and I thought this was really good because I kind of take my thoughts through this naturally. It's just something that I do. But with me, you'll see if like the circle's divided, it's divided in half. The first section is observe, reflect, discuss. It's easy to observe, it's easy to reflect, it's easy to discuss for some people, but they never move over to that other side of the circle, which is plan, account, and act. They never move over there. I don't know if you guys can relate to this, or someone in your life who constantly observes and reflects and talks about what they're going to do, but then they actually never do it. And then there's the other side, which this is the side that I tend to be on, which can sometimes get me in trouble when I don't go through the whole entire circle, is I can plan like a son of a gun. I can grab accountability and I can act. But with that, without doing the other 3 things, without doing the observe, reflect, and discuss, most of the time when I've done this and haven't finished it, I've caused myself more pain and struggle because I haven't taken the time to actually think it through. So with that said, with this cycle of 6, the way it was described to me, and I really like the way this was discussed with me, is that, let's just say you're planning on leaving your job and you're planning on starting your business. Well, of course, that's going to take a little bit longer to move through this circle than someone who says, I'm going to want to go here this weekend, or let's go here this weekend and visit the beach. So it just depends on the severity of how long it takes you to get through this entire process. And then some people are pretty practiced and routined at this, and they've kind of worked through this a few times. So for them, it's quick and easy for them to move through this entire process. I think it all just takes practice and recognition of, going through the cycle like this. And most of us, this is pretty much second nature, but I found it super awesome to reflect on this technique because it just helps me kind of stop for a minute and stand back and think about which decisions that I've made that are really not good, and did I really go through that process? And then the decisions where I have went through this process, how well they turned out. So when something is being said to you, or when something comes to you, or there's a couple different things to think about when a thought comes in. Number 1 is, what is being said to me right now? And then number 2, how will I respond to this? So I challenge you guys tonight to think about this. So the next time that you get that moment, that Kairos moment, the next time you get that thought of, oh my gosh, I want to do this, or oh wow, I dream for this, I would question yourself on those 2 questions. 1, what is being said to me here? And 2, how will I respond to this? And then jump into your Kairos cycle, or your learning circle. So I love this, you guys. I eat this stuff up. Anytime I can learn a new technique or a new tool to help make myself better, not only do I want to use it in my life, but I also want to share it with others. So I hope you found this useful. It's something I love doing, sharing information, and I can't wait to chat with you guys again. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll talk soon.